Hello everyone, welcome. This video will be my review of the 2002 Transformers anime known as Transformers Armada. Starting off, I want to explain why I'm covering this series. Transformers was probably the largest influence on my childhood before I really dived into the greater world of anime past Fullmetal Alchemist 2003 and Naruto. The Transformers Armada show was the first Transformers series that I had watched, and I do remember my parents actually buying and renting the DVDs from Blockbuster back when that was still around. Personally, I felt like a little kid again, reliving so many lost memories with this series. However, it was still very refreshing as I only ever had access to 16 out of the 52 episodes that were in this series. So, despite it feeling nostalgic, it was also still a very new experience for me. So, without getting into too much detail on the series, it was a very fun watch, a really incredible watch, in my opinion. And the series does a lot with its characters, especially Optimus, Megatron, and Starscream. I think that the series does a lot with the concept of the mini-cons and how those are incorporated as sort of like a third faction between the Autobots and Decepticons. Though it's not all sunshine and rainbows. A lot of the animation, especially the transformations and the really big moments, are well animated. However, the rest of the animation at times can be super funky or just straight up really bad. The voice acting can also be really fantastic on occasions, but other times it can be dreadful to listen to. So I don't want to sugarcoat it. Uh, the dub can be really bad sometimes, and the animation can be wonky. So this series may not be the most appealing to watch for everyone. On top of that, season one is quite a slow burn, in my opinion. So I doubt that's going to get too many people as hooked as I was, especially if you're not into it with a lot of nostalgia. If you are a Transformers fan, though, I definitely recommend that you check out Armada. I personally think it was great, and I think Transformers fans will enjoy it. Now, I do want to go into some specifics here, so everything moving forward can be labeled as a spoiler. Moving forward, I want to cover and touch on Optimus and Megatron's final battle, some of the notable characters in this series, as well as some of the standout episodes from each season. I'm going to make a second video solely dedicated to Starscream, his character growth, and his relationship with Alexis. Right off the bat, Optimus and Megatron. Honestly, this has to be my favorite incarnation of the two of them. Along with this series having my favorite Megatron and Galvatron design, and my second favorite Optimus design behind G1 Optimus, of course. This series has both Optimus and Megatron depicted as generals of their respective armies, and Megatron is more so concerned with winning and beating Optimus rather than killing him like some of the incarnations portray, which I personally prefer. Optimus is also really fantastic in this series, and I love the dynamic between the two of them, as well as individually, this is my favorite Optimus, or my favorite depiction of Optimus, as well as I would say probably my favorite depiction of Megatron. I think that the character writing for both of them is actually pretty good, especially Megatron in season 4 when he becomes Galvatron. Now, I do want to touch on season 4, the final battle here. So, their final battle on Unicron's body in the last episode was truly amazing. I was blown away with the thematic reasoning behind it, the fluent animation, the stunning choreography, and the surprising and very memorable ending that it had. This battle was teased in the second to last episode, and in my opinion, it felt very unnecessary. But then Optimus and Galvatron start talking, and I was actually quite surprised with the almost role reversal of Optimus and Galvatron here. Optimus' design is changed during the battle with Sideways slash Unicron. The iconic red on his body turns to black, and this more closely resembles Nemesis Prime from earlier in Season 4. Unicron also brings up how Optimus hides his hatred and desire to fight Galvatron. And this isn't Unicron manipulating Optimus, this is Unicron trying to get Optimus to face the facts. and Optimus takes the matrix of leadership out of his chest, ready to fight Galvatron as the leader of all Transformers. Galvatron, on the other hand, goes through a bit of a character arc in Season 4. Three moments that really stood out to me as being important were his laugh of happiness at the revival of Optimus, his turning over of the Starsaber sword after Starscream's death, and by extension agreeing to form the alliance with Optimus, as well as his speech to Thrust as Thrust is dying about conquering the universe. Really, I feel like Galvatron at the end of Season 4 is quite a different character than the Megatron we started with Armada. He tells Optimus that there cannot be peace. Their battle must have a conclusion or it was all in vain. And he also brings up that with the hatred still present between both of them, Unicron will live on, so they must end it here. And at the end of the battle, Galvatron sacrifices himself, almost winning in his own way. He pushes this battle to the extreme, and he does sacrifice his life just as Optimus did in Season 3 and just as Starscream had done in Season 4. And while this incarnation of Optimus, especially at this current point in time, wasn't evil and Galvatron was no saint, I really like the thematic and visual details that separate them from every other battle that they've had in Armada. I think the ending really solidifies this minor thematic difference between the characters, as Galvatron sacrifices himself for the greater good of all Transformers, while Optimus just floats in space, stating that he does not deserve the matrix of leadership anymore. And Galvatron fulfilled his purpose on par with Optimus and Starscream, while Optimus is just empty. This is really what makes this my favorite Optimus and Megatron fight, and honestly, I have to give it to the subtle thematic undertones between both characters before, during, and after the fight. Some notable characters I want to shine light on here in the series is Optimus and Megatron just a little more, as well as Starscream, Hotshot, Wheeljack, Sideways, and then I want to talk about the Minicons and the kids a little bit. Optimus in this series felt like a leader to me, just more so than really other depictions I've seen. He has more of a commanding presence in this series, and I really wasn't expecting the bombastic sacrifice at the end of Season 3. And then this is not even to mention just his good nature during Season 3 when he accepts and recruits Starscream onto the Autobots despite all the Autobots not wanting to do so. And I appreciate him trying to learn and understand and view himself as equal with the humans throughout this series. Megatron, on the other hand, feels like more of a battle-hardened disciplinary general in this series, and personally, I'm all here for it. I love his role with the Decepticons. He's hard on them, especially Starscream, because he wants them to succeed, and I appreciate the dynamic that he has with Optimus. And this all accumulates in Season 3 when Optimus dies, and rather than Megatron laughing in victory, he just shouts Optimus's name. And feeling empty, he decides to leave Earth without destroying it. Then, after the death of his second in command, he decides to finally join forces with Optimus. We also see his goals and personality change, as in the beginning of Armada, he was after the Minicons in order to win the war, but by Thrust's death, he says that if Thrust has the dream of power, you'll be consumed by them. I think that this is Megatron realizing his mistakes after the death of Optimus at the end of Season 3. I'm going to make another video on Starscream, but in short, I think Starscream is the best written character in Transformers Armada, and I also think that this is the best version of Starscream across all his depictions. Hotshot was another standout to me. He started this series as an impatient, quick-tempered fool, but by the end of Season 3, he's voted as the next leader of the Autobots, and then in Season 4, he goes to converse with Galvatron on his own, as well as leading the assault fighters to destroy Unicron. Wheeljack goes up there hand in hand with Hotshot. I really like how he switched sides and was loyal to Megatron because Hotshot left him. I also really enjoyed the two of them working together to find Thrust, as well as both of them working together to take down Unicron. Sideways, or more technically Unicron, as they're one and the same. Sideways almost feels like the definition of foreshadowing for this series, from his mysterious depiction in season 2 and his betrayal in season 3. He betrays both the Autobots and the Decepticons, aligning with really no one. And I really enjoyed the air of mystery around his character, as well as the plot twist that Sideways was Unicron the entire time. I also do vastly enjoy Armada Unicron to the 1986 G1 Unicron. The minicons in the beginning almost felt like a plot device to me, the episodic minicon of the week type deal. But I do like how they evolve and how they're given more emphasis in the story through the form of the Star Saber Sword, Skyboom Shield, and Requiem Blaster. And then we capitalize on this with the minicons sort of separating themselves as a third faction and growing with a lot of personality, making their own choices, and even coming together at the end to face down Unicron. The human characters in Transformers series can be very hit or miss, but I really don't mind the ones in Armada, and I actually think that two of them stand out to me as being rather well written. Billy and Fred are a bumbling duo, and Fred is the single most annoying character in the whole series. He likes food, and that's it. He doesn't shut up about food. Billy, on the other hand, feels like a cardboard cutout most of the time. He really just stands there and doesn't do anything. As for the main trio, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis, I think they're pretty good. Carlos is a cool guy, and I enjoyed him, but there really was nothing too special. Though Rad and Alexis were the two standouts to the human cast to me. Alexis is really serious and thinks about situations in a very real way, which I appreciate. And she's also super compassionate towards the mini-cons as well as Starscream, which I think is a really good showing for her character. Rad, on the other hand, just feels human. He struggles between different choices and tries his best to help everyone despite only being human surrounded by Transformers. The last thing I want to cover in this video is some of the standout episodes from each of the different seasons. Season 1, Episode 1 was pretty good. I liked the introduction of the Transformers at the end, and I think it was just a good way to start off the series. Episode 11 was the most surprising with the underwater temple. I wish that we got more episodes with concepts like this. Episode 13 had the really awesome ending of Hotshot using the Star Saber Sword against Megatron. Then Season 2, Episode 10 was personally a lot of fun for me, getting to see the Decepticons' downtime as well as Starscream versus Megatron round 1. And then Episode 13 featured the combination of Optimus and Jetfire. Season 3's opening with the battles against, or the 3-episode battle, more so for the Requiem Blaster, was in my opinion a really strong opening. Then Episode 4 had the really goofy story of the kids taking the minicons and Thrust fighting them on a farm. And as ridiculous as it is that Thrust lost to a wheelbarrow, I actually enjoyed this episode quite a lot. Episode 5 and 6 were actually some of the best so far, with the exploration of the past with Hotshot and Wheeljack, and I was really surprised at how well written these two episodes were. Episode 8 had Starscream fleeing the Decepticons and joining the Autobots, which was very surprising and I think a great plot point for the story. Then Episode 13 had the Autobots protecting Earth and the death of Optimus. And then Episode 14 was the group mourning and Hotshot becoming the new leader. Overall, Season 3 was really good and it had me hooked the whole way through. And I wasn't quite sure how Season 4 would play out or if it would top Season 3, especially given the Starscream content that we had in that season. But I was surprised, as Season 4 preceded everything prior, doubled down, and did even better. Season 4 was just unbelievably good in my opinion. I only ever caught glimpses of these events when I was a kid, so it was very exciting to actually watch Season 4 all the way through. Personally, though, when it comes to Episode 2, this is my one gripe. I think that Optimus should have stayed dead longer than he did. I would have liked to have seen Hotshot in that leader role more episodes, more time. But I do like that Optimus came back, and I like what he provides to the story moving forward. Episode 3 was the episode I was looking forward to the most since I started Armada, because this was the episode I most vividly remember as a kid. I love Nemesis Prime. My whole love for Nemesis Prime stemmed from this episode, and this one personally was the most nostalgic to me. This was my favorite episode as a kid because of Nemesis Prime and also because of the crazy transformations that the Autobots go through at the end. It is just a bit of a color change, but it was really exciting to see once again after so long. Episode 5 featured Hotshot trying to convince Galvatron, which personally I thought was great character growth for him, as well as the betrayal of Thrust and learning that Thrust was aligned with Unicron. Then episode 8 has the heartbreaking death of Starscream and his incredible duel with Galvatron. In my opinion, season 4, episode 8 is the best episode of the series. Episode 9 has the alliance of the Autobots and Decepticons, as well as the rest of episode 9, then 10 and 11, featuring the final battle against Unicron, which I thoroughly enjoyed the whole way through. And episode 12, which I think is the second best episode, has the battle between Optimus and Galvatron that I talked about earlier, which I think is probably the best battle in the series. Overall, I really enjoyed Armada a lot. However, I do have no intention of watching Energon or Cybertron, but I do think that longtime Transformer fans should check out Armada. This series was a really big influence on my love for the Transformers series, and like I said earlier in the video, it was just nostalgic and an absolute blast to be able to watch this series from start to finish and cover so much content that I was never able to watch as a kid. Hands down, this does have to be my favorite Transformers series and my favorite Transformers media along the franchise. And that's going to be all for me today. Bye, guys.